MBA guest. Today it is going to be a special episode with some hands-on, using some illustrations, and for that I have two great partners here today, Paddy Dhanda and Grant Wright. Hello folks, how are you guys?
Hi Fabrizio, yeah, good, thanks.
Really good.
Thank you very much for both of you for coming here. It's an honor to have you, and it's going to be nice because you're going to practice and I'm going to draw, and I hope everybody who is watching us can draw as well. But the question I have for you today is, how can visual thinking help business analysts? Paddy, can you start on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, visual thinking, it seems to be this very wide term. And I think when people hear this term visual thinking, there are just so many different elements to it. It's sometimes difficult to know, what are we actually talking about? So are we talking about just doodling? Are we talking about facilitation? What is it that we are really talking about? So if folks are familiar with something like agile is an all-encompassing term, and it's an umbrella term that actually describes a whole bunch of frameworks within it. And in the same way, we can think about visual thinking. So it's this all-encompassing term, but actually there's almost these specialisms within visual thinking. And so I'd like to just introduce us to maybe the 5 visual thinking types, which have been defined by our friends at Buro Brand. And so the first one is called the visual co-creator. And that's really where we bring lots of people together and we use visuals as a way of facilitation to generate some great ideas. The second one is around visual reporting. And we often see visual reporters at conferences. You may see them sort of summarizing conferences through their visuals, where they bring together all of the great talks and messages. The third style is called the visual storyteller. This is really where someone is using visual thinking through metaphor and bringing stories to reality. And this can often be done by leaders. And then the last 2, visual analyst. That's where we might be using maybe some of the BA techniques like process flow charts or other BA sort of techniques, and using visuals to help distill a particular message. And finally, the visual designer. That's someone who's more of a graphic designer, and they're able to take visuals and digitize them and make them look really, really good. Or it could be someone who's illustrating books, for example. But for today's session, I think we're going to focus more on the visual co-creator.
Right, that's interesting. And as you said, there are different ways of using visual illustration or the visual thinking, and probably all those ways are useful for business analysts, right? But as something you said that got me thinking is that visual thinking is a huge umbrella, and so it is business analysis. It's a huge umbrella, and I wanted to call Grant and ask him, how can I use one umbrella besides another umbrella? So we have both of them here.
Yeah, well, I think like Paddy said, you've got these different visual thinking types, the different ways of using visual thinking. And I think some of those are more relevant naturally to the BA role than others. Like we talked about the kind of the co-creator and the visual analyst as the 2 kind of obvious ones. But I think if you take a step back and you look at the BA role and how visual thinking could help when applied specifically to business analysis, I mean, Paddy, you touched upon you can use visuals to almost enhance existing BA techniques. You know, you can add some visuals to existing BA tools and frameworks. So you could maybe add a few visuals to your process maps or to a state transition diagram or something that just adds a bit more context and meaning than some of the quite abstract, sometimes bland models that are useful, but you can maybe bring them to life a bit more for your stakeholders. So that's one simple way of just amplifying existing BA techniques. I think the other aspects is really then visuals can open up the BA's toolkit. So if you want to kind of advance your career as a BA, you want to be able to think more strategically, more holistically. then using visuals and leveraging some of that storytelling stuff in your work, and being able to use visuals to help inspire others to co-create and get ideas from them. That's kind of another aspect, I guess, where you can broaden the remit and the capability of you as yourself as a BA by bringing visuals into the fore. And I think you can then see how, if you're trying to solve problems, being able to visualize what the problem is, different options for solutions. So those kind of techniques, as well as just generally being able to use visuals to help you kind of learn and to present more effectively as well. So there's lots of ways.
Right. Perfect. Can we have some examples of this visual thinking in collaboration, creating of something innovative? Can we use it right now? I would
sure.
some screens out, and let's add our tables here. So each one with your own table. That's mine right here.
Right.
Oh, that's it. Grant, you guide us.
Yeah, sure. So we thought it might be useful to do a little exercise in kind of innovation and creative thinking, but also hopefully it'll tell us a little bit about the power of co-creation and working in the wisdom of crowds. Paddy, do you want me to kind of lead the intro of the exercise? So
go for it.
You guys grab your pens. We're going to draw 9 circles. Now, what we'll do to draw a circle, circles are one of the trickiest shapes, but the tip here, Fabrizio, is keep an eye on where you started from. So do your circle, come round and try and meet it. And it doesn't matter if it's not perfect. Mine's a little bit squashed there. But just do a number of circles. Should we say 9? We were going to do?
Yeah, let's stick to 9.
So these don't have to be perfect, as long as they're roughly rounded.
Right. They're far from perfect.
That doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
Remember, keep your eye on where you started. It's all good. And mine aren't perfect either, so that's all good. And it's not about perfect drawing in this context.
Yep.
Look how neat Paddy's circles are. Look at that.
Oh, Paddy's perfect.
Okay. So what we want to do now is we just want to try and turn these circles into something. Doesn't matter what it is. Just add some lines, some ideas, and just if we all just maybe take a minute to just have a go at filling in some of these circles and making them into something else. Yeah,
shall we give it 2 minutes, Grant? Because I've got my clock ready. Yeah.
Okay, 2 minutes.
Right.
Let's go.
2 minutes. Every circle must be something, right?
Yeah, just turn it into something.
Right. All right.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Ready, steady, go.
Oh, go.
Okay, time's up.
Oh.
Oh.
I didn't even get 9 done.
No, right, actually.
Oh, I just ran in the last ones. Those are cool.
Sorry, my camera's at a bit of a weird angle, so you might not be able to see them all.
No, that's fine. We can see.
Yes, we can see that. That's fine.
So I think, first of all, it'd be good just to kind of make some observations on each other. So I'll start and I'll have a look at Fabrizio's. So I love the fact that your first one is some kind of, it looks like an animal or part of an animal's face, that one in the top left corner there. I mean, it's not an obvious one. You know, I'm naturally thinking straight away what's circular shaped, and you've come straight out with one there that's just, you've almost just used it as a guide and turned it into something else. And maybe it was because your circle wasn't perfect that it caused you to be more creative.
That's exactly what it was. I didn't have a perfect circle, and I just tried, let's see what this will give me. And I thought something maybe like Mickey Mouse or something like that. I just need to put some ears here. Right?
And for me, looking at Fabrizio's, it really hits home that you love your faces, right? So you've done a few faces there. So there's a theme going on there. I think that, maybe there's you have an affinity to people, to animals. Maybe there's some kind of connection there. To me, that tells a lot about a person. And I do love the fact that you have thought outside of the box here. Like Grant said, it's not just I'm going to use the circle to describe a circular object.
Yeah,
you really sort of try to experiment. I love the mouse you've got there as well. It's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Nice. And you're right. My intention was to make 9 faces here. I just had to think about something else because it would be very repetitive, right?
But I think that in itself is an interesting point, because I've done this exercise a few times, and it always amazes me how hard I find it when I've just got to think of the ideas myself. And I ran this exercise recently when I was doing some training, and we had some constraints because it was a webcast kind of broadcast, so people couldn't put their cameras on, they couldn't talk to me. So I was just getting people to put in the chat their ideas. And we filled in like 30 circles in no time at all. And you can see at 2 minutes, I couldn't even fill in 9. And yet I've done this exercise lots of times. My brain's gone blank. But when you can get the crowd working, and then one person says something and you see what somebody else has suggested, it sparks different ideas. Just something as simple as externalizing your thoughts and visualizing.
Yeah. So Grant and I, we run a meetup called the Visual Jam, which I know, Fabrizio, you know all about. And on the Visual Jam, we put the question to the crowd. We had about, I think, over 100 people on the session. And we asked them to think of all of the different words that would describe visual and the word jam. And between us, we came up with about 10 between Grant and I. By the end of the session, I'm pretty sure we had over 50 different suggestions. People describing the word visual with lots of things like eyes and, telescopes and all sorts of things. And it just goes to show, it just goes to show, as a BA, if I'm trying to generate lots of ideas, just by bringing people together and giving them a question and getting them to visualize that question in some way, it really allows people to express themselves. Because now we can have really meaningful conversations. Like I could say to you, Fabrizio, like, what's the meaning behind, I don't know, one of your icons there? And you might describe lots of rich conversation that we just wouldn't be able to understand without you telling us that.
Yes, and I think it's great when you have some visual, any visual. It helps our mind not just to think in a rational way, but also in an emotional way. So we put our right brain to think about that. And every time a BA or anyone who's leading a group of people to find a solution or to find to understand better a problem, when they can use some visualization of what they're trying to show, it helps people to engage. It helps people to connect and to interact. Very good. So
Absolutely.
many ideas. Could you tell us a little bit more about this Visual Jam for people who don't know it and who wants to join? How can they join you?
Yeah, sure. Do you want me to go, Paddy?
Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess probably the beginning of 2020, Paddy and I were talking about our shared interest in visual thinking. And we decided that we wanted to try and start a meetup group. We're both from the kind of the Midlands near Birmingham in the UK, and there was nowhere really in our area that was available to do the meetup. So we said, well, we'll create a meetup. We'll do something ourselves. So we decided to do that, and then this this thing called COVID-19 came along and disrupted our plans, and so we kind of parked the idea for a bit, and then it kind of got to the summer. I think it was August, the first one we ran, wasn't it, Paddy? August 2020. We decided we're going to just do it online, do it virtually. We got a Zoom set up, we got a Miro board, and we managed to get a great guest in Mike Rodey, who's the author of the Sketchnote Handbook. And he joined us, and we sort of, there you go. And we formed this community, and I think it's fair to say, Paddy, it's turned into something much bigger than we were expecting, and it's now an international event. I don't know if you want to add anything, Paddy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's become this really special community. We have just so much diversity in the group, because we have people from an agile background, people who are BAs, people who are professional graphic recorders. Like, there is a whole host of people, and we've been lucky enough to be able to run children's events as well, because we felt that it was really important during COVID to put on some events where parents and kids could collaborate and come together and build better connections. So we ran 2 events where we've had children on the session, and it's been absolutely amazing. Oh yeah, and we got dressed up for the occasion, so we're superheroes.
My homemade Batman mask.
There you go. So yeah, we just have a lot of fun with things. I mean, you know, we've been drawing like Lego people. I was experimenting drawing some Indian Lego people, which I've never seen before. But it just goes to show, like, just getting creative and just going crazy with things can.
It's really cool. A lot of people that will watch this show is from Brazil, because it's going to be subtitled in Portuguese. And if they want to join this group, if they want to join your jam session, how can they do it?
So yeah, we can share the link. It's on the meetup website, and you just have to type in the Visual Jam, and it will come up. Hopefully,
Visual Jam, right?
Yep, and
I will add the link below this video so people can just click it.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, guys, thank you so much. It was a very special episode for me, and I love it. I love the opportunity to draw, and I hope I can get you guys back again in another opportunity as well.
That'd be great.
Oh, thank you, Fabrizio. It's a pleasure.
Right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.